we talked about potential trade options.
Right.
And I was very honest with you. You don't like the DeMar DeRozan deal. That's fine. I can live with it. And especially about the fit reasons. I'll agree with you there. But if there's not a trade option, what were the free agency options? So let's start. Cam Johnson, Brooklyn can match. That's already a problem.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant. Is he going to take a bag to stay in Portland and contend potentially with Damian Lillard? Or is he going to come to Detroit and be the third option on the team? I would love to know what you think of this.
So I love the fits. And you see a common theme here, and it's kind of what we talked about. We've been talking about the last week or so. The fit is threes that can shoot and that can defend. Jeremy Grant, Cam Johnson, two guys that can not only space the floor, but are great on the wing, great perimeter defenders. That's the ideal player the Pistons are looking for, whether it's Cam Johnson, Jeremy Grant, Grant Williams. I know these guys aren't as good or don't have the legacy of DeMar DeRozan in this league, but still fit-wise, next to your two franchise players, they're perfect fits. Cam Johnson, we know he has the relationship with Monty Williams, and they were really close even when he got traded. I'm pretty sure it was reported he cried when Cam Johnson was traded. So that would be a great fit. Now, would Brooklyn match? I would assume so. They have cap space. I'm sure they would like to keep Cam Johnson with Mikal Bridges. But again, that's someone that you at least have to throw an offer sheet at and see if it sticks or not. Jeremy Grant, that's on the more hefty side. You're going to have to pay Jeremy more money, and it's going to be a longer-term deal probably. But still, he's better than Cam Johnson. We can admit that. And he's a better defender than Cam Johnson. It's just, for me, though, this is what we talked about yesterday with free agency. And if you want to land a big fish, and yours was DeMar DeRozan, it's going to have to be through trade. This free agency class is so dry at the top. It's mostly just good role players, guys that you can win with, but no star players. Those guys you're going to have to go grab from situations that either A, are over the cap, or going into a rebuild, or players are unhappy. Now, DeMar, it hasn't been reported, but still, he's a player that I think would be ideal for any team to go trade for. Other players, Jaylen Brown, good luck getting a deal done for Jaylen Brown. Even Brandon Ingram, good luck getting a deal done for him. So I don't know if that big fish will be available this offseason. At least I haven't seen anything. You never know. Donovan Mitchell, that report when he was available kind of came out of nowhere. But at this instance, I don't know any star player that you can just go grab. So if you're looking at free agency, Jeremy Grant, Cam Johnson, Grant Williams, these types of players that won't be super, super expensive, but that can come in and contribute, I'm all for it. I like all these players.
I'd prefer Cam Johnson over Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant, I mean, the amount of money you're going to have to pay, one, is already a problem. Two, he's missed 27 games a year for the last 3 years on average.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not relatively healthy every year. Shooting still 47% from the field coming out of, Portland. His three-point shooting is actually really good. He shot 40% last year. That's an encouraging sign.
Yeah.
Like you said, a really good defender. Between the two, I'd prefer Cam, but how realistic is that? And I think this is the biggest problem I have with all of this.
And I want to bring these comments up just to address some of it. Tali says, James Harden, ? I don't know if you're suggesting James Harden, the Pistons. Absolutely not. That fit wouldn't even, it wouldn't work. Unranked Podcast says, the fact that y'all are even talking about Jeremy Grant makes me not be able to take this show serious. Well, go read James Edwards, his report. If you're not going to take him serious, that's
Suck
fine.
my dick.
But that's a real possibility. So just because
don't even read comments like that.
I love addressing.
No, I don't.
I do.
Suck my dick, as if I care.
We're just pulling the Jeremy Grant thing out of our ass. It's a real possibility. Also,
if I want to talk about anal sex for 2 hours, I'm going to, and you're going to listen like the good bitch you are, okay? Jesus Christ. These people.
And if you actually think that Jeremy wouldn't be a great fit, man, I suggest go watch a basketball game. That's all I would say. Porzingis is brought up. Not a huge fan of Porzingis. I know he had a good year last year. And again, you look at Porzingis' impact with Washington versus Dallas. Dallas, he's a very different player. Washington, he started breaking out, looked like the old Porzingis. But still, I don't know how that fit works. He'd probably play the 4 here. And he's not a great perimeter defender. He's a good shot blocker, good floor spacer. But I'm not sure if that fit is ideal. I would much rather have 4 guys that can guard multiple positions and Jalen Duren. That's my ideal fit, right? 2 wings that are interchangeable. You have Cade and Ivy, and then you have Duren. So you have pretty much 4 guys that you can rely on to guard somebody. Duren is a little bit, you kind of give him a little bit of a pass because, he's still getting better and he has a ton of untapped potential. Let's see here, just get some of these comments. Todd says in the WoodwardSports.com chat, don't you think Grant has been there, done that, no thanks kind of thing? Well, it's different from the situation. And I brought this up about Bojan. Yes, because people tend to look at, and I get it, you look at Jeremy Grant when he was here with the Pistons and think, man, he was hogging the ball, the role he was in. I don't know if I want that player back. But with like Bojan, and I made this point to you, their role will change. Like when Jeremy Grant was here, you didn't have Jaden Ivey. You're going to have more talent with Jeremy Grant. When Jeremy went to Portland, what did he do? Took a step back. He took a back seat to Damian Lillard. Now, if he comes here, he's going to
do that to
Cade Cunningham.
Because I'm just going to say what you said yesterday.
Not saying Cade's Dame, but if you're signing Jeremy, you have to let him know, hey, you're complimenting these players.
That's okay to do, but trading for DeMar, for example, and telling him, hey, that's what you need to do, isn't. And he's 33 years old, turning 34 in a few months. But Jeremy Grant's in the prime of his career. But you're going to ask him to come and be a 3?
But here's the difference. With DeMar DeRozan, he's been that dude his whole career. Jeremy Grant
left Denver for that reason and came to Detroit and was that dude.
He was in OKC, wasn't really.
And he was the number 2 in Portland.
The best roles Jeremy had, the I guess being a number 1 or number 2 was with Detroit. He's never done that. Portland, he was a number 2.
Fine.
But still, he's typically not that
dude. He was a
dude.
1 in Detroit,
yes,
and he was a 2 in Portland. And I agree, he's a better fit. Right?
Yeah.
Spaces the floor, better defender. But why is that acceptable? And it's, we're like you said, you told me yesterday, you're assuming DeMar DeRozan's going to come in and accept that role. You pursue Jeremy Grant. What are you pitching him realistically? Because you can't tell him, hey, take a backseat to Cade and Ivy. This is a guy that's going to flex between playing the 1 in terms of priority and a 2. And occasionally, maybe he'll take a backseat and be a 3. Mm-hmm. But he's going to be 1 or 2 on this team. He's 1, that good. 2, he makes you better. But 3, I'm not understanding why adding a different type of player would be so harmful for Cade and Ivy's development, but adding a guy who will probably take 17 shots a game, who is a much better fit, I would say, than most of the names we've brought up,
right.
Kelly Oubre or any of that shit, Porzingis. I want to know how you make it work.
So here's the comparison.
This is what you told me yesterday.
Yeah, and here's the comparison between DeMar and Jeremy Grant. So how many shots they're going to take, it'll probably be similar. But at least with Jeremy, I know the fit's there. I know he can shoot threes. I know we talked about closing games. I know in a closing lineup, if the ball is in Ivy and Cade's hands and Jeremy's taking a back seat to whatever happens down the stretch, I know I can depend on him to play off ball, to hit threes, to defend. Like those things, he checks those boxes for me. So if you're going to take 15, 16 shots, I'd much rather get it from a guy who's more efficient from 3. You can count on as a defender, especially from the perimeter. Like for DeMar, he's going to take the same shots, but again, they're going to be different shots.
Yeah, it's not about DeMar.
Right, just comparing the fit. That's why I'm all for more Jeremy. He's a better fit. And he's a damn good player, younger than DeMar. And you don't have to give up anything to sign him. You just sign him. You don't have to give up Bojan.
As if I'm giving up anything in the trade. I'm giving up Killian Hayes and Bojan Bogdanovic.
I know, but you get to keep Bojan and have Jeremy Grant. That's my point.
I'm so excited by that.
And this is, man, you got to watch Bojan. I feel like you're just thinking he's some role player, like a crappy role player.
I never said that.
Then what do you're like, get rid of him. Like, he's a 40% three-point shooter. A year? Shooting's... Trust me, shooting, you got to pay for shooting in this league. $20 million. He's a 40% three-point shooter. Like Duncan Robinson, I know they look at his contract, and that's an ugly contract with Miami. I think he signed like a 4-year, $60 million contract when he was signed. But
is it though? 15 mil a year for a spot-up shooter?
So you like it now?
So 15 is less than 20.
$5 million, and Bojan's a way better player than Duncan.
I don't think... Dude, you should know by now what's going to happen to the cap. You're not going to have this like insane luxury. And Cade Cunningham's contract is going to be expiring pretty soon. You're going to have to make a decision on Hayes. You're going to have to make a decision on Isaiah Stewart. You're paying Bagley $12 million a year, $12.5.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Right? Look, can we agree on one thing, for God's sake? Jeremy Grant isn't the piece that takes his team anywhere near being a contender. Fair?
None of these guys do.
The only two that determine that are Cade and Ivy. We agree.
Right.
Okay, great. So if you want to go with Jeremy Grant for the next 2-3 years and then move off of him, if it's not working and Cade and Ivy are really developing, be my guest. But to run back Jeremy Grant, I mean, that's not doing much for me. That isn't. It just isn't. and again, we're going to see how the Monty Williams offense plays out. Is Jeremy Grant, again, comparing Phoenix's offense with Portland, the way Dame and Jeremy Grant played together, not really the same with what Monty will want to do in Detroit. Again, I think one of the biggest frustrations is Cade Cunningham's second year we were robbed of. So you don't know what that development looks like. You think you know, right? It was 27-7. It was pretty damn efficient.
Mm-hmm.
He could knock down the three. It was really nice. So maybe you can assume and you can project a little bit, but you just don't know yet. You don't.
Yeah, and again, it's fine if you don't want Grant because he was in Detroit already, but you can't tell me you don't want Grant for any basketball reasons. It has to be because, well, we already went through that. We saw Grant in Detroit. I don't want him back. That's fair, but there's no
Jeremy
basketball
Grant.
reasons.
But let me ask you this.
There's no
you're
basketball
Jeremy
reasons.
Grant, all right? You've had history here. You're playing in Portland. You're now a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit offers you the same amount of money Portland offers. And they say, we want you to flex between being the second option year one, and slowly we want to push you into the three and let Ivy and Cade develop, okay? And I pitch you that. Mm-hmm. And then I pitch you from Portland, hey, we're going to go make an attempt at X player. We're going to sign somebody in free agency. We're going to try to contend in the West. You, Dame, and run it back, whatever. Why would you be incentivized to come to the team that finished with one of the worst records in the NBA when the money's going to be the same to stay in Portland? That'd be my question.
Now that's your best argument right there. That's fair. 100%. That's fair. Now, that's money. Now, basketball, if you're looking at, from Jeremy Grant's perspective, I could stay in Portland, take a backseat to Damian Lillard, and make the same amount of money. You're right. But here's the thing, too. What does the future of Damian Lillard look like in Portland? That's probably the other question.
Not going anywhere.
You'd expect so, but now
you can't trade him.
Damian Lillard, now more often than ever, has been rumored to be traded. I don't know if it's true or not if he wants out, but if Jeremy stays there and he gets dealt, now you're basically in a wasteland in Portland.
So Damian Lillard's window closed 3 years ago.
You don't think
he should have asked for a trade 3 years ago and moved the hell on? And he stood there. And you know what? Respect to him for staying with one franchise. I don't mind it, but we're well past that point.
We'll see. But if you're Jeremy Grant and you want to stay in Portland, that makes sense. But to say that it would be a bad fit in Detroit, that's ignorant. Doesn't make any sense.
It's not a bad fit. It's a better fit than most.
Right.
I mean, Cam Johnson here is the home run.
Especially in this class. That's the point. There's not...
Cam Johnson's the home run piece here. You're bringing Cam Johnson. You're getting a versatile defender, a guy that can spot up and shoot the three.
Mm-hmm.
I think he still has a lot more to improve on in his game.
And he fits Monty Williams' offense.
He
what
fits
they want to do, he fits
plus
it.
He's young enough to grow with Cade and Ivy. And that's, I don't want to say your core three, but it's a really good lineup. And then you can really sell me on buying in.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Grant's not moving the needle for me. It just isn't.
Yeah.
You want to talk about bringing a guy that's going to command a ton of money? I don't know.
I'm seeing Draymond Green in the chat, too.
No, God, no. One, Draymond wouldn't come here, okay? Two, he's going to get paid to retire as a Warrior. That's why Bob Myers stepped down, okay? The Warriors are not going to go and compete anymore. They're done. They're going to play. They're going to pay Clay. They're going to pay Draymond. Everybody's going to get paid happily ever after for the next 3 years. Steph's going to continue to break records. They will never win a championship again. That window's done.